I'll call the Planning Board and Board of Adjustment meeting to order tonight, and welcome everyone. Just as a matter of housekeeping, Mr. Wilson wanted me to let everyone know that if you go out these doors directly, the first hall down to the left, right, are the restrooms, so that that's convenient. We do have, for when you're speaking from a public presentation, we have the microphone. You can come up to the podium when that time comes and speak from that point. And, next, I'll ask Mr. Robinson, would you mind leading us in the opening prayer, please?
Father, once again, we come before you thanking you for your love. And as representatives of this community, we pray that the decisions that we make tonight would be good for all involved. As we watch the TV and listen to the news, we're still ravaged by this coronavirus. Pray that you'd be protective over us and keep us from harm. And we pray the unrest that's come upon our nation as a result of police brutality and killing, that you would give people loving hearts, and may we all live together as one people and bring this country back down to earth of where we can all be comfortable in calling ourselves Americans. We ask these things in Christ's name. We pray in his name. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. I'll read the chairman's statement now. Welcome to this meeting of the Town of Mooresville Board of Adjustment. The board hears and decides requests for variances, appeals from decisions of administrative officials, and may hear appeals arising out of any other ordinance that regulated land use or development. When hearing variances, the board acts in a quasi-judicial capacity. This means the board will receive evidence, make findings of fact, and conclusions based upon what it determines to be credible evidence. Every quasi-judicial decision shall be based upon competent evidence in the record and shall be reduced to writing. Every quasi-judicial decision is appealable to Superior Court. The hearing and deliberation of quasi-judicial matters is open to the general public, with the focus being on gathering relevant evidence and protecting the rights of the specific parties before the board. The parties shall be given the opportunity to offer evidence, cross-examine adverse witnesses, inspect documents, and offer evidence in explanation and rebuttal. All testimony shall be sworn and provided under oath or affirmation. Evidence may be presented by one or more witnesses or documents, and the board may ask questions throughout the proceedings. The board has not established a strict time limit for presentation of evidence or comments, but retains the right to limit irrelevant or repetitive testimony and limit argument exclusively to the issues presented. The chair shall rule on procedural matters or issues. An electronic recording is being made of these proceedings. Therefore, please make certain that only one person speaks at a time and that you speak clearly into the microphone when addressing the board. You must identify yourself and your address. The board will receive a brief summary regarding the application from the staff. The applicant or person, entity filing the application will then proceed with presentation of evidence. At the conclusion of the case presented by the applicant, evidence may be presented by objectors or other interested parties. It is critical that each applicant for a variance address the criteria that the board is required to apply in determining whether or not unnecessary hardships would result from carrying out the strict letter of the zoning ordinance. The board shall vary any of the provisions of the ordinance upon a showing by the applicant of all of the following. Unnecessary hardship would result from the strict application of the ordinance. It shall not be necessary to demonstrate that, in the absence of the variance, no reasonable use can be made of the property. The hardship results from conditions that are peculiar to the property, such as location, size, topography. Hardships resulting from personal circumstances, as well as hardships resulting from conditions that are common to the neighborhood or the general public, may not be the basis for granting a variance. The hardship did not result from actions taken by the applicant or the property owner. The act of purchasing property with the knowledge that circumstances exist that may justify the granting of a variance shall not be regarded as a self-created hardship. The requested variance is consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the ordinance such that the public safety is secured and substantial justice is achieved. A concurring vote of 4/5 of the board is necessary to grant a variance. In denying the variance, the board shall make findings that one or more of the requirements do not exist. Every quasi-judicial decision of the board is subject to review by Superior Court. A petition for review shall be filed with the clerk of the Superior Court no later than 30 days after the decision of the board is effective or after a written copy has been provided, whichever occurs last. With that, I'd like you to stand with me and let's pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Wilson, are there any postponement or withdrawal requests?
No, sir.
Excuse me. I'd like to have a consideration for the approval of minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review? We have a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Brady, Ms. Campbell. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Do we have any old business, Ms. Black?
No, sir.
Thank you. Now will be time to swear in the staff.
Yes, but the Board of Adjustment members do need to be seated as well, or called out.
Forgive me. So I'm assuming this is the list correct for tonight, which would be myself, Mitch Abraham, Rosalind Campbell, Mark Brady, and Danny Martin.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Would you like the rest to remove from the board at this time, temporarily?
Yeah, they're fine with there.
Okay. With that, shall we move to swearing in the staff? Do you swear or affirm that the facts you are about to give are the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you very much. And we'll move to new business, which will be variance 2020-03, 164 Willow Valley Drive.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is variance number 2020-03 from 164 Willow Valley Drive. The applicant and owner are Charles and Joanne Grimes. They are requesting relief from 2 feet of section 3.5.8, which is in reference to allowable yard encroachments. The property is zoned R3. Section 3.5.84 states, attached unenclosed and uncovered decks serving a single-family residential use may encroach into a required rear setback or yard. Section 3.5.74b states that the uncovered deck shall not be enclosed or otherwise made into heated floor space unless it meets the setbacks for the principal structure. So the request is to cover, build a roof, and screen an existing patio, which is within 2 feet of the rear setback. Within your packet, you will see some hand-drawn sketches. That is information that town staff did give to the applicants as a way to achieve what they wanted to do without having to come through for a variance. And with that, I'll take any questions you may have.
Are there any questions from the board, Ms. Black? If no questions from the board or the staff, is there an applicant to speak on the matter? Would you like to come forward and be sworn in, please? Would you state your name and address, please, for the board?
Charles Grimes, 164 Willow Valley Drive.
Thank you, sir. Do you promise to give your testimony or affirm and swear that the facts that you're giving tonight are the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
So I don't know what you all want. I'm not changing the footprint of the concrete slab that's there. I just would like to put the 2 posts out on the outer corners of the patio that exists. There's not going to be any enlarging of the footprint or anything. And the concrete slab now encroaches upon the setback 1 foot. So I allow another foot just for a little bit of the overhang and ornamental structure, however it ends up being. And my wife and I moved down here, we're out of state, and this is the last home I hope to buy. And the sun's pretty relentless down here, and we just like to have a little shade. Presently, I applied to have it screened in, but presently we don't anticipate that. I don't have a problem with bugs. It seems to be mosquitoes and bugs are bad, but not, we're presently living with it, so I'm just going to have an open air porch, but I need the opportunity to screen it in later if it becomes an issue. What else would you like to know?
Are there any questions, Mr. Grimes, from the board?
There's currently a couple other homes that already had variances that are basically, they screened in theirs, but the lots are basically the same size. And they added a covered porch, asphalt shingles over it. Questions?
Are there any questions for Mr. Grimes? You may step down. Thank you very much.
I have a question for you all. Will
Yes, sir.
Will you decide tonight, or will I get an email, or how is, will I need to stay for the rest of the meeting?
We will actually have a vote here, current, your testimony, any board discussion on the matter.
So I need to hang around then, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. You're welcome. Is there any discussion, further discussion within the board?
I'd like to say, I went out and looked at the property, and his backyard is adjoining another backyard that is so deep that where his joints looks like the pasture instead of a backyard. So I don't see anything wrong. He's so far away from another house that it's not going to affect anything. So I think it'd be a good idea to do it.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. I do believe we've had at least 2 or 3 variances from this same residential neighborhood, if I remember correctly. With that, then we would move to the findings of fact. Are we ready, Mr. Wilson, to take that step to findings of fact, or?
Mr. Chairman, just for clarity, make sure there's no one from the public that wishes to speak on this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Culberson. Is there anyone else from the public that wishes to speak on this variance? Thank you very much. And forgive me, the changes of venue have been a little bit confusing for somehow we're handling these things, so thank you all for the clarity. With that, then we would move to the findings of fact. unnecessary hardship would result from the strict application of ordinance. It shall not be necessary to demonstrate that in the absence of the variance, no reasonable use can be made of the property. Yes or no?
Yes.
Is there a reason that you would state for that finding of fact? To support? A reason that you would state to support that finding of fact?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman,
You can use
can I ask you all to speak into your microphones, please?
I'm sorry, I was just gonna remind the board that at the end of the finding of facts, we will need to make sure on the record we state the reason for that supports the decision, either yes or no. So, as we go through the finding of facts, just have that in mind, that at the end of the finding of facts, there needs to be a reason for your vote, yes or no.
Thank you very much, Ms. Austin. Second finding of fact, the hardship results from conditions that are peculiar to the property, such as location, size, or topography, hardships resulting from personal circumstances, as well as hardships resulting from conditions that are common to the neighborhood or the general public may not be the basis for granting variance. You vote yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. The hardship did not result from actions taken by the applicant or the property owner. The act of purchasing property with knowledge that circumstances exist that may justify the granting of a variance shall not be regarded as a self-created hardship.
Yes.
And the last finding of fact, the requested variance is consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the ordinance, such that public safety is secured and substantial justice is achieved.
Yes.
Having found all the findings of the fact in the affirmative, do we have a reason to support the findings of fact?
Because it joins another backyard and there's not gonna be any, I guess negative effect to grant variance.
So having said that, we find that the variance is in the spirit of why we have the variance opportunity, and we would support it. Anything further that we need from staff, Ms. Black?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. With that, then we would move to our second variance, which is B 2020-04, 144 Willow Valley Drive.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, it should probably be stated that the variance was approved.
I thought I did that, I'm sorry. The variance was approved, Mr. Grimes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm free to go then?
Yes.
Actually, we need a vote.
All right, thank you. Ms. Black? We'll move to the next variance, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is variance 2020-04 for 144 Willow Valley Drive. The applicant and the owner is Melinda Wilson, and it is relief from 11 feet of section 3.5.8 allowable yard encroachments. The property is zoned R3. Section 3.5.84 states that attached, unenclosed, and uncovered decks serving a single-family residential use may encroach into a required rear setback or yard. Section 3.5.74B states that the uncovered deck shall not be enclosed or otherwise made into heated floor space unless it meets the setbacks for the principal structure. So just like the last variance, the applicant is requesting 11 feet from the rear setback, as that is what an existing patio encroaches into the rear setback. The applicant wishes to build a roof and screen in the existing patio. With that, I'll take any questions you may have for me.
Are there any questions from Ms. Glegg on this variance from the board? All right, then if not, we will call Melinda Wilson. Good evening. If you both would state your name and address for the record, please.
Neil Wilson, 144 Willow Valley Drive.
Thank you very much. And when you're speaking, if you all don't mind getting close to the microphone, since they're recording this, it'd be very helpful. Do you solemnly swear that the facts that you're bringing tonight are the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you very much. If you'll go ahead and give us your statement on the variance.
I'll speak on behalf of our team. So we're looking to build a screened-in porch just like Mr. Grimes. Our neighbors have almost the exact same screened-in porch. And my wife went out and looking at theirs every day. She decided she wanted one as well. So we're looking to cover the existing patio that's there. I have to admit that the 11 feet, hope it doesn't mess us up, but I might have overestimated the amount of space. I didn't know exactly where to measure from, but it's exactly like our neighbors, and it's just covering the existing porch.
Okay. Any additional testimony?
We think it will benefit the value of the house and make it more usable space outside.
Are there any questions from the board? Any discussion?
So this is exactly identical to the house beside it?
Yes, sir.
All right. With that, you're welcome to have a seat. Thank you very much. We'll move to the finding of fact on this case. Is there anyone from the public to speak on this variance? Okay, with that, then I'll move to the finding of fact. And if we will, Ms. Olson's asked me if we could have a reason behind your vote, yea or nay, on each of these that I can fill in for the, so we just need a statement from the group that supports each of the findings of fact. Thank you very much. First finding of fact, unnecessary hardship would result from the strict application of the ordinance. It shall not be necessary to demonstrate that. In the absence of the variance, no reasonable use can be made of the property. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Number two, the hardship results from conditions that are peculiar to the property, such as location, size, or topography. Hardships resulting from personal circumstances, as well as hardships resulting from conditions that are common to the neighborhood or the general public, may not be the basis for granting a variance.
Yes.
Yes.
Number three, the hardship did not result from actions taken by the applicant or the property owner. The act of purchasing property with knowledge that circumstances exist that may justify the granting of variance shall not be regarded as a self-created hardship.
Yes.
Yes.
And number four, the requested variance is consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the ordinance such that public safety is secured and substantial justice is achieved.
Yes.
Yes.
Are there members of the board that would have comments on each of the findings of facts relative to a supporting statement?
Mr. Chairman, for the first one, unnecessary hardship, this relief in this ordinance would not visibly or physically upset the neighborhood or zoning of the rear property. So I think in that instance, we would go ahead and approve this.
Thank you, Mr. Abraham. Anybody statement on number two?
Do one for each one of these, sir?
Yeah.
Right there. You can do this for each one. So-
Yeah, we have. Yeah, we have. All right, Mr. Chairman, the hardship that would result from not granting this, because of the conditions of the property would be adverse to the granting it, so I would say we should be in favor of granting this.
Okay, we have a statement to number three.
The hardship didn't result from any action taken by the applicant. It was a setback requirement from the town.
And number four.
All public safety is okay, no problem there. And confirm it conforms to activity of the neighborhood, usage, homeowners are
Thank you, Mr. Ray. For the public record, with the board's support, that you state the same reasoning for the previous variance as well?
Yes.
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 Thank you very much. With that, Ms. Wilson, the variance carries and passes. Thank you very much. Ms. Webb, are there any administrative items, director or staff comments?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Any future requests or agenda items?
Yes, sir.
Then I'll adjourn the Board of Adjustment, and we will open the planning board. I'll read the chairman's sheet here for the public. Welcome, my name is Steve McLaughlin, and I'd like to welcome you to the Mooresville Planning Board meeting. Members of the board are appointed by and serve at the pleasure of the town board and will review all items related to zoning and land use for the town of Mooresville. The procedure used in all public meetings for this board when reviewing agenda items are as follows. Staff presents background information on the agenda item with their recommendation. The board then may call the applicant or developer forward to provide information or deliberation. Any board member may ask questions at any time. All board members are required to vote unless they have a conflict of interest. Any and all public comments for this meeting will be heard during the public comments period and shall be directed towards a specific item on the agenda under discussion. If you are going to speak during public comments, at the appointed time, come to the speaker's stand and give your name and address for the record. Please be aware of the following rules when speaking. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. I, as chair, will inform the speaker when their time is up. Individuals are allowed to speak once per public comment period. Individuals may not bank or donate their time to other speakers. Comments are to be directed toward the full board and not individual members. There will be no deliberations between individual speakers and any board member. As chairperson, I am responsible for enforcing these local rules as part of my duties. This meeting is being recorded. At this time, I ask that you please turn off your cell phones or put in silence mode. Thank you. Are there any postponements or withdrawal requests displayed?
No, sir.
We have the consideration for the approval of meeting minutes for the planning board. Does everyone have a chance to review?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Any old business displayed?
No, sir.
Thank you. New business, CCC 2020-10, which is 2357 Statesville Highway.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is conditional zoning case 2020-10 for 2357 Statesville Highway. The applicant is BTR Communities Group LLC. The owner is Kenneth A. Coops Revocable Trust. This is a conditional rezoning to go from single-family residential 2 to residential mixed use with conditions. The condition of this request is an approved concept plan. The site is roughly 7 acres, 7.02 acres, located on Statesville Highway, and is currently being used residentially. In this map, you can see where it's located within the town. The One Mooresville plan does designate this property as neighborhood residential, which calls for interconnected neighborhoods that are encouraged to be developed as mixed-use villages with the greatest mix and intensity of uses set apart from lower intensity areas. The primary uses in this designation are single-family detached, townhomes, duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes, and small-scale, low-rise multifamily apartments. The rezoning will facilitate a 48-unit multifamily development that consists of 1, 2, and 3-bedroom apartments that also includes a playground and picnic shelter amenity. That gives it a density of 6.93 units per acre, and you can see the site plan in front of you. The proposed development is not large enough to warrant a TIA, a traffic impact analysis. However, Whitman Circle will be upgraded to town standards, which includes curb gutter and sidewalk, which will be at the developer's expense because that will be the main entrance to the development. The neighborhood residential characteristics specifies desired characteristics and includes uses as single-family homes, attached single-family homes, and small-scale, low-rise multifamily apartments that are 1 and 2 stories in height. The designation also identifies existing and desired density as 3 to 6 units per acre. The proposed concept plan includes a more intensive use taller buildings and a higher density than what is supported by the One Mooresville plan. And you can see in front of you the One Mooresville plan where it denotes all of those specifications. The site is in an area that contains an established single-family neighborhood. It has a density of roughly 1.4 dwelling units per acre. In order to match the 1.4 dwelling units per acre density of the existing neighborhood, the property would have to have 10 units, not 48. Both the residential type and density of the proposed project do not appear to be compatible with the existing neighborhood. And you can see the neighborhood in front of you. With that, staff's recommendation is to deny the rezoning request, as it is inconsistent with the One Mooresville plan and incompatible with the existing neighborhood. With that, I'll take any questions you may have for me.
Thank you, Ms. Glenn. Are there questions for the town staff and the board?
What's on the front? The vacant lots, I guess I could make that out.
I'm sorry, what exactly are you referring to?
Statewide Highway, you got the apartments and then the area up front.
That is,
All that open area.
it's open
Or is
space.
that the buildings?
No, that's open space.
Okay. Or I guess that's just a kind of frontage to be built later.
It's just required open space.
Oh, that's the open space. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any additional questions for staff? Do we have an applicant presentation on this, Ms. Glenn?
We don't have a presentation from the applicant, but I believe he is here. Yes, please come forward. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, the applicant has given staff packets of information that have been passed out to you all. So those are in front of you.
Thank you, Ms. Glenn. Would you state your name and address for the record, please?
Yes. My name is Bill Scanlon. I reside at 1220 Arboretum Drive in Mooresville, North Carolina.
Thank you very much. You don't have to be sworn in for this presentation. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the planning board, good evening. Thank you for allowing me to present to you. I'd like one point of clarification before I begin. It's my understanding the applicant has 15 minutes to speak and that everybody else has 3, but I've only heard you say 3 minutes. Am I correct?
We have 3 minutes for public rebuttal, but you have a chance to give 15 minutes to present what you have on the project.
Thank you. I will not take it forward. I have just a clarification. I am the applicant. I'm also the developer, and I'm the managing member of the ownership entity for this proposed development. Let me begin by stating and making clear this is a proposed development of workforce housing, a term I'm sure you all are familiar with, targeted to families and individuals in the 30% to 80% area median income range. Occupancy at existing workforce housing developments here in Mooresville is at 98.9%. That's a very large number. It reflects a strong need for additional housing of this type in Mooresville. A recent market analysis estimated that there is an overall demand of almost 1,300 households that would benefit from additional workforce housing in their community. Our proposed 48 units only address 3.7% of that need. Now, we have worked closely with the Mooresville Planning and Community Development Department in order to address all ordinance requirements and design standards. Not once during that process were concerns raised regarding the inconsistency with the One Mooresville plan. With respect to the development, we intentionally brought this design forward to help Mooresville address multiple points related to workforce housing issues within the town. Let me highlight several points from the One Mooresville document. On page 9, the section is called About One Mooresville. Under the heading that says Providing Opportunities for Developing New Housing Choices, it reads as follows, and I'm quoting, Mooresville has initiated several efforts to expand housing choices, particularly to provide new housing that is attainable for the local workforce. Nearly 70% of the workers employed in the Mooresville commute into work each day many because they don't have adequate housing options within the town. On page 10, in the section about One Mooresville, under the heading that reads enduring, and under that it reads we value. There are several statements, one of which says, quote, having a variety of neighborhood living options that support a diversity of households. On page 11, in the section about One Mooresville, under the heading of inclusive, a subsection of what we value reads, quote, having housing that is affordable to workers in our community. Page 150, in the section promoting a vibrant economy, it says the following, quote, workforce housing is not easy to achieve. Nationally, this is one of the more pervasive community issues that local governments are addressing through a variety of tools. Mooresville has developed a bonus density program to incentivize development of attainable housing and is considering other tools to expand workforce housing choices in town. The communities that do succeed are not only protecting their residents, but are also enjoying a competitive economic advantage in attracting both talent and business. And again, these references I've just referred to are directly from the One Mooresville document. I'd like to highlight several positive points that are noted in the staff report. One, the plan contains the required 20% open space, including playground, picnic shelter. Two, the plan contains 84 parking spaces, which exceeds 81 that are required. Three, public water, public sewer are available at the site in a capacity to meet the needs of the development. Four, the development is not large enough to require traffic impact analysis. Five, the developer will upgrade Woodland Circle in front of the property to town standards. And last, concept plans are compliant with all applicable town standards and zoning ordinances. And again, these comments are in the staff report, the full staff report. However, there is one statement within the report that I think is misleading, and I'd just like to take a moment to clarify it before we move on. In the staff report, under the section Neighborhood Compatibility, it reads, and I quote, access to the site will take all new traffic through the existing neighborhood, end quote. Well, actually, this site has access from two main roads around it. The first is Statesville Highway 115, where you turn on the Whitman Circle and then you would immediately turn right. You would pass the Whitman Park Baptist Church parking lot and then turn right into the development. This route does not pass a single residential property. The other entrance would be off of Oak Ridge Farm Highway 150 onto Goodwin Circle. And in that case, you would pass some residential properties. So now let me address the staff recommendation that this request is inconsistent with the One Mooresville plan. While the proposed development may be outside of the suggested uses for the neighborhood residential land use category, the site is immediately available to areas identified in the land use plan as mixed-use corridor. There was a diagram up on the board a short while ago that indicated directly to the south is mixed-use corridor. We would suggest that the parcel in question here is more appropriately considered as a parcel that fits into the mixed-use corridor category with some of the neighboring parcels. Quoting from the future character and land use map that's on page 47 of the One Mooresville Comprehensive Plan, it reads as follows, and I quote, boundaries are meant as guidance for decision makers. Properties located on the edges of boundaries, which is discussed, should be reviewed for context and appropriate designation on a case-by-case basis. End quote. Following on this approach, we would ask you to consider the specifics of this site in determining if it is more appropriately classified as neighborhood residential or mixed-use corridor. Our site is bordered to the west by an existing rail line and Statesville Highway 115. It is bordered to the north by a church. It is bordered to the south by several large commercial operations. Only to the east does it abut residential properties, and specifically 4 single-family lots immediately adjacent to this parcel. Based on the existing land uses, we would contend that the site is more appropriately evaluated as a mixed-use corridor site. And if you consider the request use in relation to the desired characteristics of the mixed-use corridor, it follows to the letter the desired development form that is outlined in your document, the one document. While the proposed site does border 4 one-story single-family lots, we have taken care to locate the taller residential buildings as far away as possible from these existing homes, have placed small single-story amenity structures adjacent to the single-family lots, and we are providing buffering per the town guidelines. This approach is in keeping with the One Mooresville plan, which suggests on page 66, quote, when tall buildings are near neighborhood contacts or lower height, the height of the new development should be lower or step down to the existing neighborhood. End quote. Additionally, in terms of building height, density, setbacks, parking, and street character, the proposed approved concept plans meet all of the desired characteristics of a land use plan for a mixed-use corridor planning site. In further support of our request to be evaluated within a mixed-use corridor, let me read a quote related to a multifamily project unanimously recommended for approval by this planning board in May. This is as published by the Lake Norman Media Group on June 9, 2020. Referring to the approved development, I quote, even though the request does not meet the One Mooresville plan, staff recommends approval of this conditional rezoning because the site is on the periphery of the district, is close to Main Street, so it acts as a buffer between commercial and residential uses. The planning department said in its recommendation that the rezoning be approved, unquote. From what I just read, you can substitute the word Statesville Highway 115 in lieu of the reference to Main Street. The southern property line of the site abuts the mixed-use corridor I mentioned earlier. That is identified in the future character and land use map on page 42 of One Mooresville document. It's not a stretch to consider moving it one parcel down Statesville Highway 115. You also should have before you documentation related to my community outreach efforts for this rezoning request. You have a listing of 44 property owners that represent 55 residential properties. They were all mailed on April 28th, correspondence from me, and had copies of full 11 by 17 copies of the concept plans. I also included, as you can see, the architect's rendering of the building elevation, and I provided an address, an email address, for anyone who has questions to reach out to and communicate those to me, and I indicated that any correspondence I received would be brought forward to the commission when we have the public hearing. As of today, June 11th, I have not received a single email regarding concerns about the site from the department. So in conclusion, we just say we appreciate the technical review committee reviewing the project and guiding us to reach an approved plan which meets all the applicable town standards. We also appreciate planning staff reviewing the proposal. We would, however, disagree with their assessment, as we believe that, because of its surrounding existing land uses, the site should more appropriately be considered as a mixed-use corridor in terms of its character. If that is the case, we would suggest that our proposed use is very much in keeping with the One Mooresville plan, and I trust that we can work together to bring additional workforce housing to Mooresville. And I thank you for your consideration.
Well, thank you very much for a well-prepared presentation. Are there any questions for the applicant from the board?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, you see the Whitman Circle Road will be improved to town standards, and I'm assuming that's gonna be from Statesville Highway past the church. It looks like there's a line drawn halfway between the first residential unit. Is that the area of improvement, or will it continue on through to Goodman Circle?
The area of improvement that we were asked to do was in front of the property line. begins in the curve as you come into Whitman Circle and goes to that would be the eastern boundary.
Okay, it'll stop there where,
Yeah, the section that's in front of it.
okay.
Any additional questions from the board for the applicant? Before I call for public comment, are there any statements from the staff regarding the presentation?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there someone from the public that wishes to speak to this matter? Would you come forward, please, and state your name and address?
Sabrina Barnes, 222 West Lawrence Avenue, Mooresville.
Thank you very much, Ms. Barnes. If you'll speak into the microphone as best you can, thank you.
10 years ago or so, we dealt with this same issue, and it was voted down. Whitman Circle is a small residential community with a few businesses located on one end. The entrance and exits to Whitman Park is two major highways, 150 and 115, already a traffic nightmare. And they're wanting to add to that nightmare. Whitman Park Church was established 59 years ago. I'm 58. I've been there my whole life, so it's my second home. It's always been a small community, and we've never had any issues whatsoever. And I'm afraid this would only bring more. I'm worried, I fear that the change, I'm concerned about the community, the congregation, and also the church's property. Not just our property, but the property of those surrounding. There is no positive in this. We went through this 10 years ago, we looked at it, it was voted down then, and there just absolutely is no positive. Us as a church never want to turn anybody away, but we looked at all the logistics and just adding to the traffic, number one, is a nightmare. Where it's located, it was stated that there was no residential in passing coming into this property. Our church is right there, which means a nightmare just to get in and out of our church. I strongly suggest no for this, and I hope and pray, and I'm thankful for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Are there others in public to speak to this matter? Yes, sir. Again, please state your name and address for the public record.
Sure. My name is Michael Wilson, and I live at 119 Whitman Circle.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Sorry, I know I was a small amount of time, so I'm just typed out. First of all, thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak. I reside at 119 Whitman Circle, and I have been there for 8 years. Even though my wife and I only lived there for 8 years, this property house has been in my wife's family since 1949. That's 71 years. Her dad has seen a little gravel driveway with only 3 homes turn into a neighborhood with more than 40 residential addresses. With growth over the years in the town of Mooresville and the surrounding area, roads have changed and adapted to this growth, except for a small handful of city-maintained streets such as Whitman and Goodman Circle. According to the town of Mooresville, local residential streets should be a minimum of 11 foot from center point to each side. Both Whitman and Goodwin Circle total width is only 12 to 14 foot wide, depending on where you measure it. That is slightly more than half of the standard residential street elsewhere in the town. As most of you may or may not know, Growth in the area has also brought a great amount of cut-through traffic to avoid the 115 and 150 intersection. Among some of the issues with the cut-through traffic, there have been speeding, oversized vehicles to a road that is already 10 foot smaller than the standard road. With this proposal to build these apartment complexes, that will bring even more traffic to an area that cannot even handle the volume now. That would be approximately 50 units with an average of 2 cars per unit for another 100 cars traveling on roads that are only 12 foot wide. What about the heavy equipment needed to complete this project? They would have to enter the area from 150 east side of the 115 intersection on Goodland Circle, or from 115 north side of the 115 intersection across the railroad tracks to Whitman Circle. They are going to use these roads to access their land because the railroad company will not give them another access drive. If this proposal should pass, I believe that it should be the builder's responsibility for updating and bringing Whitman and Goodman Circle up to standard streets with sidewalks throughout the neighborhood, because the number of units they will be more residential addresses than the current residentials who live there now. So they propose that they would be updating the roads just from their egress, from their property lines. So it would be like what was stated earlier, from Whitman Circle just to the railroad tracks. Well, once you get in there, you know, as most of you guys know, that as a huge cut-through area, they're going to go out the Whitman Circle, they're going to go out Goodland. And so it's going to affect not just that section, but the entire neighborhood surrounding both Goodland and Goodland Circle.
Thank you very much for your comments, sir.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Additionally, to speak on, please come forward.
Brief. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the planning board.
Did you please state your name and
Yes,
address?
I am Ray Whitfield. I reside at 190 River Chase Lane here in Mooresville. I have an interest in the properties that abut to the west, that go to the railroad track, 2354. It could be 2348, depends on if you look at the county map or if you look at the tax map, they're different. But anyway, 2362, 2366, and I have family members from 2368 that are back there that they use. First off, I would concur with the planning department and request that you would deny the application of the developer. I would also like to say that there are properties to the west, both the neighborhood, Whitman Circle, and the properties that are on the west side, which are, a number of them are owned by ours or family members, it's a mature neighborhood, and it's a neighborhood that is not consistent with the density that the planning department, or the developer is requesting, which is the 6.93, as he said. The surrounding properties are 1.4. I would ask you guys to drive by, and we challenge you to look and see that the open spaces in all those surrounding properties are much greater than 20%. That would be a more consistent plan if you had less homes there, like 10, which is I think what one individual indicated. I would also like to stress, I know that the TIA is not warranted based upon the current nature, but I would like the planning board to think about the fact that we passed a bond on March 3rd that is going to put a middle school on Reinhardt Road, which is about 400 yards to the north of probably the primary entrance to this neighborhood, and will create a significant traffic imposition around rush hour and during that time frame, 3, 4 o'clock, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. And would argue with you guys that that is not consistent. So I would be concerned about the safety, the significant impact on the safety of the area that's that is north of 150 and through to the Zephyr Road, is going to be impacted significantly by this project. And again, we would just ask you to consider the suggestion and recommendation of the planning department and ask that you deny this particular project. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else from the audience to speak to this matter? Please come forward, sir. Would you please state your name and address?
My name is Jimmy Gales. I'm at 123 Whitman Circle.
Thank you, sir.
I didn't know if I needed to ask this at the beginning as far as a question, but has Mooresville done a traffic study on these roads to either deny or accept him being able to build into this?
Apparently, from staff's report, this did not qualify for a traffic study.
It did not.
There is a certain amount of units or occupants that would trigger a traffic study. Apparently, this fell below that.
Okay, when they added on to the new intersection as far as 150 and 115, and the railroad company coming in, and I guess Mooresville added the turn lane and the extra lane to match up to the 4 lane that goes through. They've done a traffic study there, but the problem is the traffic's coming off that, coming through Whitman Circle, and trying to beat and get away from all the sitting at the stoplights and come through there and then turn right or left, whichever way they want to go. Most of the time they're going right out 115. If you add in the number of the parking places that he's got at 81, you're increasing the traffic just in that. It's not even counting what's happening from traffic that's coming through there to begin with. My concern is all single family homes have kids. They play out in the street, they just play with everybody, ride bicycles, even families do. But with the traffic, should have had a traffic study on this because they're speeding through it, the roads are narrow, and it's just a hazard. I believe in one of y'all's things that were up there as far as looking at see if there was a problem or issues with the passing of it. Says if it's harm, there's a harm in it when you start adding more cars in it that's overloaded already. I still think the traffic study should have been done just to be able to see what's coming through there to even go to the approval or denial of his property. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for your comments. Is there anyone else from the public to speak to the matter?
It's hard to hear him, so you gotta speak up.
Sir, if you'll please give your name and address.
Robert Jackson Witherspoon, 914 South Magnolia Street, Mooresville, North Carolina.
Thank you, sir. If you'll state your opinions, facts.
I'm a member of Whitman Park Baptist Church, been there ever since the day the shovel was put in the ground. My concern is that we went through this a little over 10 years ago or so. That road is not wide enough to hardly to get 2 cars down through there now. We've already had 5 or 6 big speed humps put in there because of the cut through. What's it gonna take to protect the people of Whitman Park Baptist Church? I'm not against improvement. I'm not against something happening. But it's time that I'm here to protect Whitman Park Baptist Church. I'm a deacon, I've been there for going on 60 years. And whatever this season is, in this meeting, I pray that we make the right decision above everything else. I just want to protect the community and Whitman Park Baptist Church. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else from the public to speak to the matter? If not, would the developer like to have a statement or rebuttal from these comments?
Thank you. I appreciate the feedback that everybody has provided here. A consistent theme, and it's not unique, as I'm sure most of the members here on the planning board are aware, whenever you have multi-family development come up for consideration. Safety comes up, traffic comes up, for sure. I've heard repeatedly about the traffic concerns. I'm not sure everyone is clear that the traffic analysis was not required because of the volume that we would be bringing is low. Most of what everybody I hear talking about is the other traffic outside of what this development would do. And that's a whole different story with respect to needing the traffic analysis for this development. So the traffic analysis piece that we're talking about here as it relates to this development is that the 48 units will not create enough traffic to require that. So I just want to clear that particular piece up. I appreciate the concerns about the road, and as has been stated, we were asked to help in that by improving the section that would be in front of our development, which we have agreed to do to bring it up to city standards. I haven't heard anybody suggest that we need to, as a developer, improve the entire road, and I don't think that would be an appropriate request, quite frankly. That seems to me that would fall more onto the city to address the concerns of your citizens with respect to their existing road condition. That's all.
Thank you very much. With that, I'll close the public hearing portion. I would ask if there's any additional information from the staff.
No, sir.
Any discussion from the board?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So, Ms. Blake, I understand the Whitman Circle and Goodman Circle there. Are they actually town roads or are they private roads?
Those are town roads.
So they're town roads, so we are in charge of maintenance of those. Okay.
Are there any additional questions from the board or discussion?
So I'm trying to understand from the zoning ordinance, and you saw the requirements of the zoning ordinance, but the Mooresville plan, so I'm trying to ascertain what the kicker is, for lack of a better word, say, does that really meet what we're looking for?
Absolutely.
Is it a three-story building? Is it the, half the side is relatively open, so it's kind of, it's a little confusing. I know they got a playground, they got an open space, and then you got a B&B, so they're kind of like everything that overlaps.
Absolutely. So the zoning ordinance, just for clarification, is all of the requirements that must happen, that all development has to adhere to. So it talks about numbers of parking spaces, open space, active open space, things of that nature, what's allowed in certain designations, things of that nature. The One Mooresville plan is our comprehensive land use plan. It denotes what we want to see in Mooresville, what the community wants to see in Mooresville in the future, which is why we have those designations of neighborhood residential or mixed-use corridor, things of that nature. The One Mooresville plan is a regulatory document that we use, that we present to those who make the decisions to guide the decisions. So the community has voted upon the One Mooresville plan and stated that in the neighborhood residential district designation, sub-district, excuse me, we would like to see smaller scale residential, we would like it to be less dense, and we would like it to have a density of less than 3 to 6, so less than 6. So staff's concern came when it was above that 6 unit threshold. That was the main issue, as well as concerns about the compatibility with the neighborhood around it. It is an established single-family neighborhood. That is the difference between the One Mooresville plan and the zoning ordinance. One is a like technical must be followed document, and one more is a regulatory visionary document.
Where does the workforce fit into that overall plan? I mean, where would we cite areas that we want to try to have that kind of housing?
So the town and the town's elected officials has identified that workforce housing and diverse housing selection is a top priority, which is why we have the inclusionary housing ordinance, which is in chapter 5 of the zoning ordinance, which does allow, as was mentioned, for higher density options if it is utilized. So for example, say a developer wanted to come in that wanted to utilize the inclusionary housing that needed a rezoning to CMX. And say CMX allowed for 10 units an acre, but with a conditional zoning, they could get 12. If they use the inclusionary housing ordinance, they could get that 12 through an administrative review without having to go before the planning board and the town board to get that extra density. That is what the town is doing to encourage workforce, or as we like to call it, attainable housing. This development here does not utilize the inclusionary housing ordinance. That is a completely separate, that is something that they have determined, and that is completely separate to them. I believe there are tax credits for it. Yes, quite correctly, but it is not part of the inclusionary housing ordinance. So it is something that the town has stated is an important and is a priority, but it does not utilize our inclusionary housing ordinance. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, what would the end result be in a scenario like this for the rental on the house, or like these are going to be rental, correct?
Yes,
So condos.
they are rentals.
What kind of impact would that have on the actual rent? Do we know?
That would be a part of the tax credit that the developer is working with. Would you like to speak on it? It's not necessary.
One of the goals of workforce housing, as many of you may know, is to provide safe, affordable, modern housing arrangements for folks that are on the lower income range. And as I mentioned at the beginning of my remarks, this particular development is being proposed to address those folks that are in the 30% to 80% area median income. And for those of you that may not know what that range is, it would run somewhere between folks with $13,500 in terms of annual income up to as high as almost $59,000. I've rounded those numbers. But it gives you an idea of the range. And there's a lot of, as it says in your One Mooresville plan, a lot of people that are working here in this town that, that fall in that category, and the housing available to them is too much to pay for. So the goal here of the workforce housing is to keep rents at no more than 35% of the total of the income, adjusted income for the particular family size. Now, there's a lot of math behind that, but in a broad stroke, as I think probably you've heard many times, that so many of our citizens, not just here but throughout the country, are paying upwards 50% or even more of their adjusted income just for housing. And when you do that, then other parts of your life and their lives suffer. And there are a lot of times, like we were just talking about a moment ago, folks that are providing essential services in your town that can't find a place to live reasonably. And the way that the rents are maintained at those levels that are affordable is through, as she mentioned just a moment ago, tax credits. We won't get into discussion of that right now. Many of you probably are familiar with the tax credit program. But through the equity that comes into a development like this through tax credit, we have less permanent debt at the end of the day, less to service, and therefore we don't have to bring as much income in rent as you would, for example, if you and I went out and built a market rate development. So that's sort of overall how that works. Keeps the income, keeps the rents to an affordable level, 35% in this particular case, of the adjusted family size. Does that help?
What is that number?
What is that number?
Yeah, you gave us a range of income, but this,
okay.
I don't have a calculator, so
Sure, of course.
what's the actual rent range?
Right now, as proposed, We're talking about 1 bedroom, 1 bath, 2 bedroom, 2 bath, 3 bedroom, 3 bath across those income ranges. The very lowest rent would be $394 for 1 bedroom, 1 bath. The very highest rent would be $1,084, that'd be for 3 bedroom, 2 bath, addressed to someone making 80%, up in the $50,000 range. So I think if you compare that to market rates for comparable size units in your town, you will find that that's considerably low. But we're able to do that through the use of tax credits. So it meets the objective of the overall program to provide safe, affordable housing to your residents. And I will mention one other thing. According to our market study, the age of your existing affordable housing, the newest one is 17 years old.
A quick question about the tax credits. Do they last into perpetuity, or do they run out at some point?
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, would you ask that again?
Running the tax credits and keeping the limitations on rent. How far out do those tax credits last? So what's the benefit for renters? You know, they run out after 10 years and then they market 12, 15.
The length is 30 years. There's a land use restriction that we have to agree to as developers to maintain that property, even if it changes hands, to maintain that property as a tax credit development for 30 years here in North Carolina.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just remind the board that the tax credits and the workforce housing that is being done is separate from the town and the inclusionary housing ordinance, and so the concept plan that is in front of you does not actually have anything to do with the workforce part of it. What we're deciding on is what's on the concept plan.
Compatibility, or just simply so.
Yes, sir.
Additional questions or discussions with the board?
Sir, can I say one thing?
If you
You
come
ain't gotta
forward,
write it down or nothing.
we have to do this properly. We closed the public hearing portion of it.
Can I say one thing?
I'll reopen the public hearing so that you can come make a statement.
I wanna say that while I didn't. He hurried.
And if you'll please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Marion Barnes. I live at 222 West Florence Avenue here in Mooresville. I've lived here since 1970, and half of the people in here know me. My question is, there'll be rental apartments, who will take care of keeping the yard up? Will the owners come in and mow it once or twice every 2 weeks or something, keep the yards up, or is it gonna be like in the town I live on, Mill Hill, everything's rental houses? And I have to call the town all the time to get them to come to even mow the grass. That'd be my question, would they come in and keep it up, or would it grow up high like that?
Would the developer be taking care, or the ownership be taking care of that property, maintaining it?
Yes, the property would have an on-site property manager, and we also have an on-site maintenance individual. We typically contract out for something such as yard maintenance. We don't do that, we don't get the property manager out there cutting the grass. We do contracts with professionals.
So it would be kept up.
We'll be kept up.
Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen, but that would my thought. That's,
Thank you very much for your response, and thanks for the comments. With that, I'll reclose the public hearing portion. And I will entertain a motion from the board to approve or to deny. Again, do we have a motion? Would you like to make that motion? We have a motion from Ms. Campbell to oppose the project or deny. Do I have a second? Have a motion and a second from Mr. Martin. All in favor to deny the project? Good evening, Mr. Abraham. Any discussion or further discussion from the board?
Always have to have a discussion before we vote. This is a dire need in the town of Mooresville, workforce development and also affordable, sustainable, and attainable housing. So it's hard to go against a project of this nature that has rent that's adjusted to your basis of your the renters. Precedent was set. Oh, that's it. I'm done. Precedent was set at our last meeting, and the town board approved the 41 units of townhomes over on Kennerly, right? And that was approved. And those homes are affordable, attainable at $220,000 each, which is about a $1,300 a month mortgage rate. So these are considerably lower. And also this is a good thing. I do think, and I appreciate our staff working with, and I appreciate the developer working with our staff and sending out all this paperwork to the 44 or 50 residences in that area. I think the cart's before the horse just a little bit. I would like to see this come at some point. I will go along with our recommendation as the vote coming out, but I do think we need to work more. Our staff has worked hard on this, work more towards this, see if there's a way we can fit it in, if not at this property, at some other properties. And I would also request, Mr. Chairman, that our town our planning staff would reach out to the NCDOT and request that they put the markers on the roads from 150 on to Whitman Circle, I guess, is that Goodman Circle there? Does it come off 150? If they go ahead, we can request that to get a traffic counts. I'd be very interested to see what the traffic counts are for that cut through. Personally, in 34 years here in Mooresville, I've never done that cut through because I don't want to bother the people out there. But I'd like to see what the traffic counts were. And also coming off of Whitman in front of the church, and DOT will do that for us at our request, free. And at that point, we can maybe make some recommendations as a planning staff. I think that those roads are in dire need of improvement. And I know we don't have a lot of monies in the pile of funds and so forth, and the NCDOT does not have money either to improve. But I think the people out there deserve improvement to town standards if that's what's needed out there. So if we can just do that, but that's my discussion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abraham.
Well, I'd just like to say for me, I am about growth. I've lived here a long time, and so I live in what they call affordable housing. And I've lived there since 1999. And I enjoy it. But also, I don't want growth to come that puts us at risk at safety as far as our children. Just to be able to have a nice community and it's just overloaded and it's causing havoc. That's what I'm against. I'm about growth. I think Mooresville is going forth beautifully, but not at any means necessary. I think safety is very important. The area that you guys are talking about, it is heavily trafficked. I do travel that way. I work out that way. And I don't know what it will take to eliminate the traffic, what it's going to take to see that change, but I know there can be one. But at this point in time, I don't see it. So that's my oppose. I have a problem with congestion, and we deal with that all the time. Growth is fine, but not to whatever it takes just to get a development started.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. Is there any additional discussion from the board?
I'd just like to comment, the reason I had a question about the workforce, because that is on our radar screen, and I agree with, concur with Mr. Abraham on his comments.
I still don't understand, this is the question, to learn this, but, why there's a gap here on what he's talking about and what we looked at, and how that would come together, because you really need to pay attention to that when there's opportunities, and that's why I asked the question earlier about it.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. Is there any additional discussion before we take a vote on the matter? So we have a motion to reject Ms. Campbell, we have a second from Mr. Martin. I'll just go down the list. Mr. Abraham, you vote yea or nay?
For the denial, that's what you
Yes.
said? Yea for the denial.
Mr. Katz,
Nay for the denial.
Mr. Robertson,
Yes.
Mr. Brady,
Concur.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Campbell, Mr. Martin, since you made the motion, you're affirmative. So with this, we would deny the project and make a recommendation to the town board for denial. What is the meeting date?
July sixth.
So that will be heard July sixth for the town board. Thank you very much. With that, we'll move to the second new business, which is CZC 2020-08, Reinhardt Road. And if we may, take a 5-minute recess,
Sure.
please, before we start that next presentation. for entertaining the break, but we caused too much chaos. With that, we'll get back to new business, again with CZC 2020-08, Reinhardt Road.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is conditional zoning request 2020-08 for Reinhardt Road. The applicant is MT Land LLC. The owners are William Reinhardt, Vicky McCauley, and the Honeycutt family properties. This is a conditional rezoning request to rezone from single-family residential 2 to single-family residential 3 with conditions. The applicable conditions are an approved concept plan and approved traffic impact analysis mitigation measures. The site is 114.1 acres located along Reinhardt Road. Its current uses are vacant and residential and is located within the town's ETJ. You can see where it's located in the town on the map for you. The plan calls for 339 residential units, 225 single-family lots, and 114 townhome lots. The density is 2.97 units per acre. The request does also include realignment of Reinhardt Road to facilitate a safer connection to 150. And the existing Reinhardt Road will be terminated but remain open for local access to properties. The TIA mitigation measures are in the slides, upcoming slides, and we won't read them all, but before you take a look at. The Mooresville plan designates these properties as neighborhood residential, which are encouraged to be developed as mixed-use villages with the greatest mix and intensity of uses set apart from lower intensity areas. Primary uses include single-family detached townhomes, duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes, and small-scale, low-rise multifamily apartments. You have seen this before. There have been 2 prior submissions of this plan. The first one was CZC 2018-26. It included 217 single-family homes, 255 townhomes on 123 acres for a density of 3.83 units per acre, and that is the site plan that was attached with that request. The second submission was CZC 2019-22, which was 245 single-family homes, 111 townhomes on 115 acres for a density of 3.09 units per acre. It should be noted that the traffic impact analysis that was conducted for CZC 2019-22 is applicable to this request and is what was used for this request, for what you saw. Staff does recommend approval of the rezoning because it is consistent with the One Mooresville plan and compatible with the surrounding area. At this time, I'll take any questions you may have for me.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Are there questions from the board? Is there any discussion from the board or members?
What was our decision before?
Planning board recommended approval last time.
So we recommended approval and the town board denied and wanted the applicant to make some changes to the project.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is there an applicant presentation?
Yes, sir, there is. It should also be noted that the applicant did present a letter that has been presented to you all as well.
Please come forward, state your name and address.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name is Paul Schreiber, 141 Providence Road, Charlotte, North Carolina. As was mentioned, we are the developer of MT Land, locally owned and operated. Our engineers are MT Foley. They've done several projects in Mooresville as well. And Kim McCormick is our traffic engineer who put together the TIA. As was mentioned, this was a plan that was previously approved in December by the board, or recommended for approval, I should say, by the board. As was mentioned, this was turned down because the plan did not match the One Mooresville future land use plan. And as you can see, there's a little triangle slice there that has an HB zoning on it that calls for a mixed use corridor. Although the planning staff didn't agree with that same HB, council did. So that's why we were turned down at the last meeting. You can see here, we had a little cul-de-sac in that 4.5 acre tract, and that 4.5 acres has been removed from this rezoning completely, will stay the HB zoning. As we mentioned, the new plan has 2.99 homes per acre, which leaves basically 12.1 acres for commercial, and still has 40+% common open space. The commercial acreage is not part of the rezoning, but it's where Reinhardt Road is being realigned through. So that roughly 8 acres plus 4.5 acres up on the existing Reinhardt Road is what comprises the 12 acres of commercial. As was mentioned, the letter that was provided to you was given to you by William Douglas, the Homeowners Association Management Company for Pecan Hills. There were several items that were brought up at the town council meeting that needed to be addressed. The first was that Lennar offered to purchase the remaining property at Pecan Hills development, which is inaccurate. When Lennar left the community, they actually left to purchase a larger tract on Highway 21 that they developed. There was conversation of the developer delaying pool construction, but this was actually put up to a vote by the members who voted to wait until there was at least 75% of the homes complete in the neighborhood, so as not to increase their HOA use. Voting rights and CCRs are in the process of being changed. Not sure why this was actually even brought up at the last meeting, because there's only been one vote, and that was with regards to the pool. So in the 10-year history of the community, there's only been one vote, so I'm not sure why that was such an issue. New entry monuments are actually being designed, and we're working through trying to get an easement with one of the property owners in order to place the new entry monuments on the site as was requested by the homeowners. Audited financials, it was stated that Charles Myers refused to have the financials of the community audited, and as you can see in that letter, there's been a professional audit done, I believe, 3 times in the last 5 years. So that was just factually inaccurate. Phase 2 being completed, we are actually in the process of putting the top coat on that section of the neighborhood currently. We had to wait until we had a certain number of homes built in that phase before we could complete it, but that is currently being managed at this time. And the last item that was brought up were general issues, stating that Charles is not maintaining irrigation, lights being out on the entry monument, and yard maintenance, that some of the homeowners were violating the HOA mandates. And all of these issues have nothing to do with the development. There's an HOA management company that manages sending out violation notices, managing the irrigation systems, managing the lights, and all of those things. And they do state in that letter that those are the things that they are responsible for. Any concerns of that nature should have been directed to them and not at Charles Myers. Just a quick summary, this plan now does 100% meet the One Mooresville comprehensive plan. It does not require concession from the town council for the 4.5 acres to switch that from HB to residential. That 4.5 acres is completely left out of this rezoning request. There are less homes on this plan than this board previously recommended for approval, and it does still include all of the road improvements for when there were more homes. And with there's any questions I can answer for you, I'm happy to do so.
Thank you very much. Are there questions from the board?
What was the reason for the Pecan Hills letter? I must have fell asleep for a second.
At the town council meeting, when the project was denied, there were some neighbors from Pecan Hills who got up and made some comments about that neighborhood that were just factually inaccurate.
Any additional questions or discussion from the board?
So what's the acreage for this site?
It's roughly 114 acres. So, yeah, it was before it was 119.
Okay. If there are no additional questions, then thank you very much.
Thank you, I appreciate
your presentation. I'd like to ask if there's anyone in the audience to speak to the matter. Please come forward, state your name and address.
I have to practice doing this. I'm a professor at UNC Charlotte, and this is how I'm going to have to teach this fall. Can you hear me?
If you can get as close as possible to the microphone, please.
Okay, is that better?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Teresa Schott. I'm a professor of public policy at UNC Charlotte. I live on 149 Campus Lane, which is across the creek line from this property. I've attended the previous meetings for this this approval plan, and a couple. The Pecan Hills was raised at the second public hearing last year, the full board, and I don't think that's actually the reason it wasn't voted down. The first time it was not voted down for Pecan Hills, no one was there. It was voted down for issues related to traffic, which impinges upon the earlier comments. And the second plan did put in some traffic adjustments that the town could not afford, which was very good. However, traffic is still a big issue in that area with the number of properties that are going in here. The other thing was also an environmental impact analysis. One thing that in the density unit is not taken into account that is a floodplain. It's a 100-year floodplain. We have seen our property looks over the creek. When we look at that hillside coming down, it is major amount of water coming in. The water comes in the creek line, goes all the way down to Lake Moon. We have seen significant flooding on our property this year. We bordered that 100-year. So that density isn't taken into account. That when you add that many homes on a hillside coming down, you're going to see significant more flooding because you no longer have the trees and the actual canopy to stop the flooding. So I'd like to see a consideration of that. That was one of the things that was raised at the meeting last year. There's some significant health concerns. There is a thyroid cell here, as we know, in Mooresville. I'm a public health scholar. I do health services research. I actually suffered from thyroid cancer. I lived in that property for 20 years. I now have 3 horses, including one who was only 5 last year, who all tested for insulin resistance. Has to do with chemical composition. It's an odd finding. It's endocrine system, just like thyroid. The well water has been tested. It is within so-called normal limits. However, there are very high levels of different types of chemicals in that drug analysis. I know people at NC State Vet School and people at Duke University. Science isn't there to say if that's a factor or not. But it is a concern. It's a health impact, which impacts upon also the amount of traffic and other use that's happening in the area, including the schools with our children, including an aging population, including as COVID-19. We don't know how that is going to impact our health effects at all. It worries me as a health scholar what's going to happen. People already are not wanting to move into highly dense, close neighborhoods, so that's an impact too. Finally, I would just say I think workforce affordable housing is important. I really do. And I wonder about ways to combine some of these plans to think overall as to where the town wants to go and have not one piece with each developer owning the show. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time too. I know this is hard.
And thank you very much for your comments. We appreciate it. Is there anyone else from the public to speak to that? Please come forward, sir.
My name is Arnie Howard. I live at 132 Ryan Park Road, or no, I live right off of Ryan Park Road on Red Dog Drive, which will be affected by this community that they're going to be bringing in. Our road is a single road entrance. It's a private road, so we only have one way in and one way out. We are going to be directly across from the Food School, which is a 900 student school, which is going to bring in a lot of traffic down that way. Our road, Ryan Park, is also a thoroughfare for many cars that are circumventing the corner of 150 and 115. They use our road as a cut through. They use it as a shortcut. Mooresville Ford also uses that as a test track. It's going to be difficult if they build this down there because both entrance and exit at 150 and 115 on either side of Ryan Park, there's going to be construction. So we're going to be kind of stuck at best. My property also has a well. The property that this gentleman is proposing to put this on is across the street from where chemicals were dumped in the patch. My well has been tested for hexavalent chromium. I had to purchase a $9,000 well filter so that I could get the chromium out of my drinking water. My brother-in-law that lives next door to me has cancer. My brother-in-law that lived in front of me died of cancer in November. My wife could not attend tonight because she has thyroid problems. She's on medication for that. If they disturb this ground that is up where the water trails from, I'm afraid that the money that I spent on my well filter will be for naught. And it's going to put all of our families and everyone on Ryan Park that has a well, which is most everyone, at great danger. Because there are people on that road, as the lady said, are aging. They can't afford to buy these expensive filters that are required to filter out these hazardous chemicals. They go and disturb this ground up there, stirs it up, and then we're back to nothing again. And we're in a cancer cluster right on Ryan Park Road. That needs to be taken into account. Okay? I'm not here, I want development. But I don't want my family to suffer, I don't want my neighbors to suffer over somebody that wants to make a profit. My quality of life will drop drastically if this is approved. It was turned down twice before in the town council because of our statement. I don't know if there's anyone else here from our community, but I speak for everyone because it hurts me for my family to be passing away from what has happened in the past. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Is there anyone else in the audience to speak? Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon, I'm John Rutherford, I'm at 348 Reinhardt Road. My property is directly adjacent to the property that is in question here. And I just want to talk briefly to some of the concerns that I've heard, and I kind of look at it from a different perspective. I'm not thrilled about having neighbors, I'm not going to neighborly guy. I'm along with that. But I look at the certain things that I hear, like the water contamination, and I don't understand it because my wells have been tested by the state and they've been tested by an independent from last year. There's no problems with water in our wells. We're directly across the street, there's one house that is directly across the street from where the city dump used to be. We have no problem with water. The other thing that I look at is the traffic study that's done, even by the folks that are developing this. The traffic study was done a few years ago. Since then, our roads have changed. 115 and 150 finally have gotten a turning road there. And I've noticed that the big commercial traffic has stopped going down that road as a shortcut. That's a big deal to us. The other thing that has changed on our highway, if we used to have an accident, I can tell you, I heard one of the people say this in the past, we used to have accidents probably at least once a month where somebody would go off the road and roll a car or something. They widen those roads 2 feet on both sides, and we haven't had accidents in it. So there has been improvements made that have changed the dynamics of what they were chatting with in the past. So some of these things, that we talk about is old history, and we need to just update it to what we have today. I have no skin in the game. This isn't going to help me. It isn't going to hurt me. But at the end of the day, I just wanted to bring to the table that there are other facts other than what I'm hearing here. I appreciate your help, guys.
Thanks very much for your comments. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to speak? With that being said, I'll close the public hearing portion. Are there any? Pardon? Yes, sir. If the developer would like to come forward, if there's any rebuttal to the previous comments, Mr. Martin, have a question, please.
Absolutely, thank you. Thank you again for your time. Very quickly, first item to address is the traffic study. Traffic study we've done multiple traffic studies over the years with the different project variations. So the traffic study that was done less than about a year ago to show all the improvements that we plan to make as part of the development. Second item I'd like to address that was brought up was the workforce housing. We tried to do workforce housing with the very first study that we did, with the very first project. As everybody knows, land in Mooresville is getting more and more expensive. So the only way you get workforce housing is density. We saw that with the first project that was presented this year. You got to have density, you got to have numbers in order to get the costs and prices down enough to provide that workforce housing. Unfortunately, council wouldn't like that plan, so we moved on to another plan. Third item I would like to address is the environmental impacts. We had a phase 1 environmental study done, and the state has come out after us and done a phase 1 environmental and actually gone into a phase 2 environmental where they're digging pits out there to see, what they can find. And this has been going on for months, and to date, they have still not found any sort of toxic chemicals, dumping barrels, anything like that. What they found out there was farm trash, cars, some things of that nature. So, from the environmental standpoint, if they were to find anything, you're better off having us come out there and clean it up and develop it than letting it sit in the ground for another 50, 100 years. And finally, the water and sewer issue, we would have Mooresville water and sewer. So we wouldn't be doing wells, we wouldn't be impacting anybody else's wells out there, draining down anybody else's wells with high demand from our community. Everything would be through Mooresville. So I think that kind of addresses the points that I believe were brought up by the neighbors. So I'm happy to answer questions.
I guess I'm getting hard of hearing, getting old, but I don't get your answer to my question, how many parking spaces per unit?
We got typically 2 in the garage and 2 on the parking pad. So you end up with, everybody knows, usually you lose 1 spot in the garage, so 3 parking spots per house.
So there's 2 cars garages.
Yes. And 1 car garage on the townhomes, but that's a different profile. So you have a garage, you have a garage and a parking pad for the townhomes. And those are all alley fed versus street, front roads.
What do you mean you have a garage and a parking pad on the townhomes?
So with townhomes, they're only 22 feet wide. 22 feet wide, so you can't have a 2-car garage back there. So you have the garage, we've got a 22-foot long driveway that they have for parking as well.
So in other words, 1 car parked behind the other?
Yes.
Any additional questions from the board? Developer? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
With that, is there additional comment from the staff?
No, sir.
I got a question for the staff. Can the people live out there now, can they hook up to town water and sewer?
They absolutely have the right to request utility extension. So that process goes hand in hand with annexation. So that process works that someone requests a utility extension, it goes before the board. The One Mooresville plan does include a tiered growth map, which designates different tiers of when we expect utilities to grow or to extend to certain places. So that's what's taken into consideration when the board either agrees or does not agree to extend utilities. That's also sent out to police, fire, utilities, public works, things of that nature, all the departments in the town that have something to do with extending utilities, and they weigh in if there's a concern about public safety, or if there's a concern about, we can't get water down there at this time, but, and we bring that in and have that discussion before the board, and then at that point, they either agree or do not agree to extend utilities. If they do agree to extend utilities, it is very likely that the person will be able to be annexed, assuming they need to be annexed. If they do not agree to extend utilities, it is up to the applicant whether or not they would like to still continue to be considered for annexation, because the town has no obligation to provide utilities, even if they are within the town limits. So they can still request to be annexed, we just don't actually have to give them utilities. So all of that to say, yes, every person has the right to request utilities if they would like to.
Does this developer will have utilities, correct?
Correct, yes, so this
Looks like it
development,
takes over the majority of Mount Road, if I'm looking at it right.
yes, so this
Big
development will have to be annexed, and utilities will have to be agreed to be extended and all of that.
And as for the road, do the changes in traffic design not take away that tail section of the road where it cuts all the way through, or am I mistaken?
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
That's what I thought, so that may curb some of the traffic comments that were of how that road's being utilized or maybe misutilized by the public today. Okay, thank you very much. Are there any other questions for staff? Any discussion with the board members? Then I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we recommend the town board approving this request from residential trees to residential trees with conditions.
So we have a motion to approve from Mr. Robertson.
I'll second.
We've got a second from Mr. Katz. I'll go down the roll. Ms. Campbell, you vote yea or nay? Mr. Abraham?
Infrastructure's just not there yet. I'm a no.
No from Mr. Abraham. Mr. Katz, you were the second. Mr. Robertson?
Yes.
You were the motion. Mr. Johnson?
Motion again?
The motion was to accept.
I accept, yes.
It's a yes from Mr. Johnson. Mr. Brady?
Yes.
And Mr. Martin? So we have 2 opposed, 3 in favor, 5 in favor. The motion would carry, and we would recommend approval of the project to the town board, which would be heard on July 6th as well.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. I'll move to the next administrative item, to director and staff comments.
I'm sorry, sir, say that again, please.
I'll move to the next administrative items, director or staff comments.
We don't have any, sir, thank you.
Any comments from the board? Any requests for future items or consideration?
Yes. I thought we had a pretty. Mr. Brady brought up earlier about having a discussion about the workforce housing, and I'm a little confused. I was looking at Kennedy, and then I looked at what we were looking at today, and they're very similar. There might be some differences that I just don't get because this isn't my forte, but they're very similar. in kind of style and content and, I guess, density. So that can be very confusing, and we were just mentioning in general about the workforce, how we can do that as a planning board, or what kind of recommendations we can make or whatever. So that might be something, again, kind of these traffic studies we constantly talk about, that maybe we should have some time to discuss at the planning board when there's nothing really on the agenda.
Absolutely, and something I did, talk to Mr. Brady about on the recess, and I'm glad you brought it up, so I can clarify as well. When I mentioned that the workforce housing aspect of that request could not be considered by us, I meant that because if it is not through the town's inclusionary housing ordinance, we cannot enforce that those units stay attainable. So, that's what I meant, a good suggestion, thank you.
If there are no further comments from the board or further comments from staff, then do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.